Hey, hi everybody. I am Dana Moore. I'm a Presidential Diamond and co-owner of Live Naturally Tools. And this is our Tipster Tuesday. So if it's your first time with us, welcome. If you're popping on every single week, that's awesome. I love it. It's good to see you again. Today what we're going to handle is tackling objections. We talked a lot about closing a sale yesterday, or last week rather, and one of the things that you guys had said was that you run into a lot of objections. And so for the sake of time last week, I said go ahead and send me some of your most common objections that you run into, and then what I'll do is kind of compile a list of responses for you, and we'll talk through them today and help you have the verbiage that you need for objections, okay? So a couple of things I want to just encourage and chat about while people are jumping on before we dive into the meat of today. A couple of things. A lot of you ask about convention training. We are going to be teaming up with a group of incredible leaders at convention on Wednesday for a training. It's called Success Secrets Academy, and it's going to be a one-day event on Wednesday. Jenna and I are both speaking there, as well as Tasha from Emerge Sales Training, Jeanette Franzen, she's a Presidential Diamond, Esther Vermillion will be there, Michelle Cannon will be there, our social media guru that we love and you guys get to hear from sometimes with us too. So that, I posted the link before, but I'll repost it for you. If you're looking for a really quality, all teams are welcome for this training. You can come. This isn't a system specific training at all. This is more leadership skills and basically the best that we have to offer to pour out to you. Okay, so it's a huge variety of leaders. You're going to get a lot of variety of training within that. That's successsecretsacademy.com. You can register for it there, okay? Hopefully that's helpful to you, and that will be on Wednesday, the same day as like registration and gala, and then convention starts Thursday, okay? The other thing that I want you to be aware of, I'm just going to give you a little sneak peek. Next week, our Tipster Tuesday is going to be all about customer appreciation events. We have brand new customer appreciation labels and recipes and a whole file folder of how to host an incredible customer appreciation event. That's all going to be coming your way next week. So you'll get to see the labels, you'll get to see how we run it, you'll get to see the tips and tricks that we use that have made it successful. This will be our third big year for this, and it's just really, really incredible. So that's coming up too, okay? So all of those things are happening. The other thing I want you to know about is Jenna and I are heading to London for the London convention in May. So if you have teams over in London at all, we're going to be doing some of our best stuff over there. We have a training before their convention, and we're going to be talking about work-life balance. We're going to talk about structuring strategy and team culture and some other things. And so we have a lot in store for you. So if you even have, you know, one or two people over in Europe somewhere, let them know we're going to be there. We would love to meet them. And again, it's not system training on these. It is leadership training, business tools, you know, business skills, principles, things like that. Okay. So hopefully that helps you. If you have any questions, just chat with us in our Facebook group or whatever, and we'll hook you up with the right links and send you in the right places. Okay. So today we're going to talk about handling objections. And the thing about objections is, oftentimes we take them really personally. And so that's the first thing I want to talk to you about is don't take these objections that people have toward you, towards the business, towards oils, towards the supplements, or whatever they're objecting toward. Don't take them personally, okay? They're just asking a question. They just have a reservation of some sort in their heart and mind. And some of them probably are coming from a place of, you know, they want to be right, or they're coming from a place of pride, but most of the time they're not. They're just questions. And so our response actually is going to dictate the success and the outcome of what happens within those objections, okay? So a lot of times the key for this is just being prepared, and that's the whole point of today's Tipster Tuesday, is just being prepared so that when the objection comes, you are not caught off guard. You're not, you know, spinning back on your heels, scrambling, trying to figure out what in the world do I say to this, but you're calm, you're cool, you're collected, you're confident, and you have a great response ready, okay? If you do not practice this, you won't have a great response ready, and what's going to happen is you're going to be caught off guard. And if you answer in a way that makes you sound really insecure or panicky, everyone else in the room if it's a class or with that person, they're going to feel insecure and panicky too. They're going to think, well, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I don't know what, like maybe this isn't the best idea. And so we really want to come across with some confidence, okay? So I have a huge list I'm going to work through. If we don't hit your objection, you can always put it in the chat or put it in a comment, and I will try to see it and get to it. I can't promise that I do. Sometimes I just miss stuff, but that's where we're going to start. We're going to dive in. We'll get through as many as we possibly can, okay? One of the things that we do to serve our online community, the users that are already enrolled with us, is we have some really standard posts that we do to handle objections, okay? So I would just say, let's just start there when we're talking about our Facebook user groups. One of the things that we do is we have a really chunky, beautiful internal use post that I will share with you. And then when we get the objection or the question comes through on internal use, we just tag them in the post that's already done and we let it lie, okay? There's information there, there's research there. We combat and kind of refute some of the scary blogs in there. It's done. That's all we do. Okay, so I will share that with you. That's an easy one to tackle. You just need to tackle it with confidence and just tag them in there. In our group, we pre-approve every single post, and so we don't let a lot of posts come through that are just full of objections. Okay, we try to get on top of those. Okay. The other post that we have that has a big chunky response that I also will share with you is the post on pets and essential oils, because there's been some blogs floating around lately trying to scare us about using oils with our pets, and we'll get loads of questions. And if we let all of those questions come through, it'll be like 5 or 6 questions a day on pets, whereas we can just tag them in a nice post that's already been done by a top leader that's really well worded. And then that way our user pages aren't getting all chunked up with objections, or they're not seeing a fresh objection, because people love that. They'll jump onto it well, never mind, but they jump onto it, okay? And so we don't want to do that, all right? So that is one thing. I'm going to help you with those. Now, most of your objections that you send in to me are objections that are class-based, okay? So I get that, and that's the stuff that I'm going to talk through and give you some verbiage for right now, okay? Okay, first of all, essential oils are expensive, okay? There's a few ways to combat this. Within your entire class, when you talk about peppermint, and if you're following our script and you're talking about, honestly, whatever class you teach, you talk about peppermint, you talk about how incredibly valuable they are and how potent they are, and you're just using a drop at a time, okay? So if you're setting that up in the beginning of the class, when they go to enroll, you could say, remember I showed you how little you're going to use and how potent they are? They're really pennies per drop. And that's something that has worked really well. I don't go on and on and on, but you could have a price per drop sheet, which we have on Live Naturally tools and downloads. You could have that printed out for them and just say, look at, if we're using 1 or 2 drops, a dose is really costing you about 10 cents. These are things that last. They do not expire. They're going to, last longer than you probably are, and so those are some things you can do with that. Now, as far as a whole kit goes, I know that was another question, a wholesale membership is so expensive, or buying a kit is so expensive. Part of that, you need to own the responsibility of showing value of the oils through the whole class, okay? So we talked about that in several other Tipster Tuesdays and in our tutorials. It's all about how you present it and how you're showing value to it, okay? You can't be offended with their objections if you haven't done a good job educating. So that's a part of it that you just have to take the onus for and do that, okay? When it comes to the kits and selling them, and when I close, I just say, you know what? You have seen the most incredible top 10 oils. Every home needs these. Pick the kit that fits your budget and your needs, and we'll go from there. And I just let them jump in and pick what they need, okay? And so usually people can afford what they want to afford, and if they've seen the value in it, they'll pick it, okay? Now, if for some reason there's an objection to that, I'm going to skip down to one, but if they're like, oh, I have to wait till my next paycheck, you guys sent me in that one, or I have to talk to my husband or whatever, sometimes they're just looking for a way out and they're not your customer, okay? If it feels like you have to pull teeth to get them to get this, they're just not your customer. They're not that interested, or they're not ready yet. That's okay. Keep loving them. Keep you know, wooing them to you, keep networking with them, but don't stress about those people. There are people that are literally praying for you to come to them and share oils with them, okay? But if they're saying to talk to their husband, or they're, you know, unsure what they want, or they're too expensive and things like that, I always have another option for them, you know, and my option for them is a class. I'll say, you know what, when people often tell me that they want to offset the cost of oils, or it's an initial investment, they're not sure, the best thing you can do is have a class. If you have a class and invite some friends, and your friends start ordering doTERRA as well, that can offset the cost of your oils greatly. Now, you have to decide, is this somebody that if they have a class, they're going to get all their enrollments? You know, like, you have to decide that, and that's a whole nother ball of wax. So, but that is one way that you can do it. Another thing you could do is say, you know what, sometimes when people really want to get started, I recommend getting their $35 membership and getting the lavender lemon peppermint. That's the way to start. We're starting off slow. You're going to have 3 quality oils that you can use for hundreds of things, literally, and you're going to feel really great about that. And then we'll go from there. Okay. So that's a great way too. And it's okay. I mean, the biggest thing is not that you're not selling diamond kits. The biggest thing is that you're bringing them into your fold of education. And if your user groups are thriving and you're doing a good job with follow-up, don't worry. We want them to be customers for life, right? More than we want them to be like a diamond kit enrollment. So keep that in mind. Make sure you have other options, okay? Sometimes people will say it's overwhelming. This is so overwhelming, okay? And often what I'll say to that is, yes, sometimes new things can completely blow our minds, but that's where I come in. I know how to break this down and educate you step by step. So we're going to start with the basics until you feel comfortable. We'll go to the next step after that, okay? So have me. That's what I'm for. And that's what you guys need to do. You need to sell yourself as the essential oil guide, okay? You are the guru. You're the one taking them through step by step. If your intro class is too complicated, they will definitely have this objection. So you need to go back to our tutorial, go back to our script, keep it as simple as possible. You don't need to be overwhelming. You don't need to talk in high scientific crazy terms. You don't need to explain sesquiterpenes. It's too much, okay? It has to be as simple as put a few drops in, your house smells like magic. Rub it here, your head tension disappears. It's amazing, okay? It has to be simple, because if it's not, they're gonna have that objection. And if you hear that objection a lot, that's a huge red flag for you that your class is just too complicated, okay? So that's how you can dumb it down, simplify it, so that they feel like, man, this is the first time I've ever heard this. It blew my mind, but yet she made it so easy, okay? Another thing with that is when they're feeling like overwhelmed, this whole like daily wellness challenge, this daily her healthy habits challenge that doTERRA is running, you should run that in your groups, because it's very simple and you can be guiding them through a step-by-step daily process with their essential oils until they feel really comfortable, okay? It takes like 21 days of like solid practice to form a new habit. And so you can just tell them, listen, we're going to form new habits. It's time to get healthy. All right. And if they're really wanting to learn, they're going to be like, yes, okay, thank you. You've handled my objections. You know, if they keep throwing objections at you, chances are they're just not really wanting to learn. They're not actually wanting you to solve the problems. They're actually just looking for a portal out of this thing. Okay. And that's okay too. They're not your customer. If they're too busy to learn, too busy to come to a class at all, don't want to show up for a class, it's really nice if you record yourself doing a 10-minute essential oil class as quick as possible, just the highlights, the bare bones overview, and send it to them, okay? If you haven't read the book Go Pro, you need to. That talks a lot about how when you like send someone a video or something to watch about what you're selling, how then to secure the next appointment. Because you're not looking for the sale every time. What you're looking for is the next appointment, the next chance to talk to them about it. And so if they're just too busy to learn, you can say, you know what, I totally get it. There's a few options I have for people that are busy like you. I have a 10-minute video. I'm going to send it to you in your email. Can I call you on Thursday? Will you have watched it by Thursday? And then we can talk through some things, okay? And they might say, Thursday, yeah, I can watch it by Thursday. Be like, okay, I'm going to call you Thursday at noon over your lunch break, and we'll talk through the video. And then if you have questions, we'll go from there. And that way I'm going to meet you where you're at, and I get it. You know, we're all busy. You can even listen to it while you drive down the street, okay? And then that way they have no objection. They're too busy to come to class, and you're just going to kind of create a one-on-one type of training. And honestly, if you put the time into making a video like that, you can use that a lot. You know, you can use that for leads that you have all over the place, okay? So it's definitely something valuable to learn. I'm not going to give you a video that I have. You need to do you. Nobody cares what I have to say unless they know me, right? They want to see you. They want you to be your essential oil guru. So you do it, you practice. That's how you're going to get good at it. If people aren't interested in wholesale, okay, I kind of get a little snarky with them, you know, that's my personality. My humor can be a little snarky sometimes, so you have to do you. But I'll often say like, oh, you don't want a deal. Like, that's totally fine. If you want to pay full price, you can totally pay full price. I'm like, that makes me like kind of crazy. I never want to pay full price for anything, but if you want to, that's totally fine. And let them buy retail. Okay, but the thing about that is the way that you're eventually going to get them to be a wholesale member is always show them their price comparison, okay? So if they say, okay, I want this, this, and this, or maybe I want 3 oils, right? Okay, you're like, okay, that's $108. That's your retail price. I just want to show you that if you decide to get, you know, to get them wholesale, it's going to be X amount, okay? And so show them their price comparison, show them how they would save money, and never like, talk too much. We talked about that last week with closing. Don't talk too much. Just say, do you still want retail? And they might look at the price and say, yeah. And you're like, okay, let's do it. You know, whatever. You're still going to earn money. It's fine. The customer has to be happy. Okay. If they feel like you're like clawing at them and swindling them and trying to get them to do something they don't want to do, they're not going to trust you. Okay. So just say, okay. The next time you're going to follow up with them, the next time they want to, you know, buy something else, say, okay, let's just price compare and make sure that, you know, that you're not saving money. You know, show them again you're paying for, and they'll enroll with you, okay? In fact, one of the things that I like to do is I like to mention my wholesale like membership group online, and I'm like, oh, I can't add you to that until you have a wholesale membership, because that's like an exclusive benefit to that membership, and we do a Wellness Wednesday every week. You know, I would love for you to be a part of that. So let me know when you're ready for that membership, because I would love for you to get this education, okay? So there's always perks to our wholesale membership, even beyond what doTERRA says, okay, or has to offer. If they're they'll say, you guys had wrote as an objection, I'll have to pass, I'm uninterested. Let them go, okay? There is nothing really you can say if they're telling you that. Now, sometimes I'll say to them, because I want them to come back to me, I'll just say, I totally understand. It's a lie. It's a new concept, but everyone's health is important, and I know at some point you're going to start thinking about essential oils again. And I would just ask if you would just come back to me at that point when you're ready, and I would love to help you. And let them go, okay? Just let them go. Like, we waste so much time like chasing after the people that are like trying to get away from us, and we have people like literally wanting to learn, okay? So if they're just like, meh, just be like, that's great, you know? God bless you. Enjoy your Pepto-Bismol. I don't know what to say. But I just say, just come back to me when you're ready, and I'm going to help you out. You know, sometimes it just takes for them like something serious to happen, where their sleep is really compromised, or they feel like they've exhausted all their options, or tomorrow something happens, you know, and things like that. So I let them go. If they say oils are bad for you, I've heard that oils are bad for you, you know, I always say, whenever they say I read this, or I heard this, or I read this, or I heard this, or I saw this, I always say, oh, that's so interesting. I haven't heard anything about that. Can you send me the research? And I have never had anyone send me research, okay? I've had people send me a blog article, and when I respond back to them, and this is usually in writing, or they'll say, I read this blog, but I'll say back to them, I'll say, oh, I see. I could see how this would be so confusing. The thing is, this isn't research. This is just a blog, and bloggers actually get paid for clicks. And so they'll put up scary titles because that causes us to want to click on them, right? It's human nature. And so this isn't research. In fact, I haven't found anything within this blog that points to actual research, but let me show you where you can find research. And I point them to the APRC website, or I point them to Source2U, or I point them to an article in PubMed.gov, or I point them to something, okay? Yeah, I just saw a comment and you're like, oh, you know, lavender is going to cause our boys to have breasts. You know, I'm like, oh, for the love of God, you know. Let's not even mention all the plastics and hormone disruptors that are in our culture and in our food causing this problem, you know, but it's got to be the lavender. It's just got to be. Sometimes I'm like, man, humans, we're nuts, we're crazy, we're stupid, okay? So those are some that you can use with that, but always ask for the research, you'll never get it, and then know that know what blogs are, okay? And this is no disrespect, if you're a blogger, I get it, but bloggers make money on the products that they recommend. They make money on the amount of like hits that they get on their site. That's just how it works. It's brilliant, and I'm like all about it. It's just that the ones who are doing the scary titles are doing so because they're getting paid to do so, okay? And so we need to be able to weed through that and be confident that like that's not research at all, you know? Don't get upset about that stuff. Who cares? Okay, when it comes to building, people will say, I don't know enough people. I don't know enough people, okay? I get it. When people aren't good at networking or they don't leave their house enough, then it can be a problem, okay? So what I want you to do with those people is just say, that's okay. Everybody knows 3 people, okay? And what we don't understand, and sometimes what we fail to see, is how incredibly connected the world is. And I bet the 3 people that you know all know 3 people. And the 3 people they all know 3 people. And what that is, that's a multiplying event, okay? So if we could just educate a couple of your friends, this whole idea of health and wellness with essential oils can snowball, and you will find yourself connected. I always tell them, like, we personally have 30,000 people in our organization, but I'm like, if you think that I know 30,000 people, like, I'm not that popular, I'm not that cool, and I haven't been around the world that much, you know? But I've just shared with the people I know and love, and they've shared with the people they know and love, and it has snowballed into what it is. But that's not solely because of me. So what network marketing is, the beautiful thing of it is networking, okay? We all connect ourselves to one another. It's not just dependent on us to grow a huge organization, okay? So that's one you can do, and that's usually for a builder who's like on the hook for building. Another objection, sensitive to scents. This is one that I think is a real thing. I think that, you know, people are sensitive to scents. I grew up thinking I was allergic to perfume because I couldn't handle it. It would give me a headache, you know? And so I was a little cautious with essential oils, and many people are, okay? And so when that happens, when they say I'm sensitive to scents, you can just say, I totally understand, okay? A lot of people are, because of the amount of synthetics in scents, our body really wants to reject them. What I found is that with doTERRA essential oils, because of the purity of them and because we're using them in very safe diluted amounts, you'll find that what you previously were sensitive to usually isn't going to be a problem. Okay, and don't guarantee it. Don't say, I promise you're going to love doTERRA. You know, truth be told, Clary Sage is my favorite. It kind of irritates me. And same with Peace, the oil Peace, when I diffuse it, I actually feel like kind of angry, okay? So I'm just saying to you guys, there is something to be sensitive to scents, and you know, I love doTERRA, like I love it, you know, but there's a few that just kind of like my body chemistry isn't a huge fan of. So don't negate this as like, oh, they're just like making that up or they don't want to buy. That's not true. They actually are trying to kind of sort out their body. And some people can be like so prone to chemical toxicity, like they'll get physically sick just smelling chemicals and things like that. And so we have to be cautious with that. So just the best way to handle that objection is to agree with them. I totally understand. I get it. You know, this is why this probably isn't going to happen for doTERRA, but let's start you off slow. That's what I said. Let's just start you off slow. Let's start you off one thing at a time, you know, and so you won't want to give them a diffuser blend that has like patchouli and all this stuff in it. You're going to want to start with using, you know, very simple things. Okay. Same thing with allergic to lavender. You know, that's a super common one. I'm allergic to lavender. I'll often say, you know, have you tried doTERRA's lavender? Because what I have found, that's a nice like segue term. What I have found is when people have told me that they're allergic to lavender. What they're actually allergic to is the additives in lavender from the companies who aren't producing a pure oil. And then they're like, huh, that's interesting, you know? And I'll just say, if you're not comfortable trying lavender or you don't want to start with that, let's not start with that. Let's start with something we know you're going to love. Let's start with peppermint. Let's start with wild orange. You know, let's just work on guard. Let's get your, you know, your winter wellness and kick the crud. And like, let's address this issue. You know, there's many other oils people can use for sleep, for rest, for relaxation, for calming. They don't have to use lavender, okay? In fact, if they don't want to use lavender, just tell them that they're going to need frankincense, okay? Well, okay, you don't need lavender, $21, that's great. Let's go with the $69 bottle of frankincense. Let's start there. I mean, for real, it's gonna do what they want it to do, you know, and maybe it's the floral scents that are bothering them. So anyway, they actually can't be allergic to an essential oil, as I understand it, because there's no proteins in essential oil, but they can absolutely be sensitive to an essential oil. They can have an aversion to essential oils, okay? So don't negate it as like, that's impossible. It's not. Their skin, they can have reactions to it, okay? They absolutely can. So be okay with that, you know? Like, I think we panic and we feel so defensive. Like, you can't be allergic to oils. And it's like, well, an adverse reaction is possible, and we don't want people to have adverse reactions, right? Okay, when they're not enrolling because they're waiting to get paid. I mean, come on, guys. I was so broke. We were broke as a joke. It was a big deal to even get my $150 kit, okay? And so same thing, go back and read GoPro, but what you're looking for is the next appointment, okay? So you can say, hey, I totally understand. When do you get paid, you know? And they'll say, you know, I get paid on Friday. I'm like, okay, why don't I call you on Friday night and we'll talk about it then. So then, you know, you're paid, you're ready, and then you can go ahead and you know, grab your essential oils right away when money is plentiful, okay? And if they're like, they're probably just looking for a way out, all right? So if you're providing answers and solutions and they're still giving you objections, they might just be looking for a way out. And again, don't chase them down, okay? Privately, maybe you can send them a message and just say, hey, this might be a better option. You know, if they give you another objection, you can go, why don't we do $35 in the lavender, lemon, and peppermint? Why don't we start there, get you going? I know allergies have been driving you crazy. Like, we've got to get something in your hands. We've got to get your family started. Let's start there, and we'll order a little bit every month, you know, or whatever, and help offset the cost that way. Again, go for the class, okay? You got to go for the class. Because if they have a class, they host a class, and their people enroll, they're going to get paid. Or they have a class, and now this month, if their people enroll, they're going to get paid, and they're going to get 50 PV for every enrollment, you know? So that's a great way to really get an oil collection. So any objections you've had in the past concerning cost of it, I would go back to them this month and lock them in for a class, okay? Okay, I'm trying to work through these. We're at 27 minutes. How does this happen? How did these go so long? It's always my goal to make a Tipster Tuesday like 12 minutes, you know? Turns into like Lecture Tuesday. Okay, Amazon sales, okay? Lame sauce, okay? Amazon sales, I often say, and I actually had someone buy on Amazon recently that I have sampled, that I have sent things to. I have educated her. I was like, she posted this picture of frankincense, and she's like, I'm so excited. I'm so happy I have doTERRA frankincense. And I'm like, where did you get frankincense? Like, I was like, ooh, you know, the internal like dragon inside of me wanted to come out. I'm sure you felt that way, or maybe it's just me. But I was so like, hey, where'd you get your frankincense? You know, I'm going to kill you. And she was like, I got it on Amazon. And I was like, oh, girl. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Like, I just thought she didn't want oils. I mean, they just gone through bankruptcy and different things. And so I was just giving her space. Then she had a baby, like all kinds of stuff. And she just kind of gave me a lame excuse. But I was like, the thing about Amazon is that, one, it's a shady deal, okay? It's people who are sometimes hacking into our systems, buying bulk amount of oils, and then selling them on Amazon. Often they can be tampered with as well, and a brand new cap be put on there. So please don't buy anything else on Amazon. I can't guarantee like what you're getting out of it, and I can't bring you into our like educational groups because you haven't enrolled, you know, under our umbrella. So I kind of talked to them about it like that. And she was like, okay, I'm so sorry. My aunt wants to buy oils. It worked out. She still hasn't gotten her membership with me yet. That's okay. But I was definitely like, oh gosh. Like, I just like take it like you are gut punching me. Don't buy on Amazon, you know? And the thing about Amazon is eventually, hopefully it'll dissipate, but at this point, like, it just is what it is. So just have a good response for it and make sure that you're providing value with your education and your educational groups. Okay. And that way it's like, well, I feel loyal to her, you know? I'll often say too, like, the people selling on Amazon are doing so to undercut the rest of us team players, not part of our culture. And so we don't want to support them. We don't want to support something that's not part of our culture. But I would love to have you support me or people in my organization who are just, you know, working so hard to pay for their kids' dance lessons and to get out of debt and things that are going to matter that I know resonate with you, right? You know, and just put it back on them. Okay. All right, I'm gonna keep going just because I want to tackle all this today so we can do something else next week. So if this is getting long for you, I totally get it, but I'm gonna keep going, okay? LLV, we get objections for that. LLV makes me gassy. LLV, that's a lot of pills. What you need to do with that is educate, okay? A lot of the key for all objections is just more education. And so with that, make sure you're talking about how LLV is a lot of pills. It's 12 pills a day because they're loose packed, and they're loose packed on purpose because it's better for our digestive system. It's better for the way that our body will absorb them. It's better to space them out when we take them so that we have, you know, a kind of a steady dose into our bodies. And what I always say is I bring this back to like my personal experience, and I say, I'm not a great pill taker. Like, it's not my favorite thing to do. It's taken me a lot of effort to learn to take my LLV, but because of how I feel, I wouldn't miss it for a day. Like, it literally has changed everything about my mood, my energy, how I feel, how I sleep. These are big deal things for me. And the second I forget to take them, I'll take a day or two off. Maybe I got lazy or traveled, and I start to feel my energy crash. And so because of that, I'm willing to do it. You know, I'm willing to do hard things because my health depends on it. And so I just give them a personal experience like that. And usually they're like, okay, you know, if they still are like, I know I literally can't swallow pills, like, then you can say, well, we have a chewable version available, and point them to the A to Z. I usually talk about that as a chewable version instead of a children's version, just because I don't want adults to have objections, okay? If my husband thinks there's snake oils, okay, I'm going to tell you a story, and this is what I tell people in class because it's funny. Now, you have to have your own story. You can't steal mine because that's weird, but you can tell them you have a friend, okay? So I can be your friend. But Nate wasn't super into oils either. He let me buy a kit, but he wouldn't really use them for himself. He was fine with me using them on our kids and things like that, just wasn't interested. And one day he pulled out a big pan, or I pulled out a big pan of sweet potato fries from our oven and set it on the top of the stove and walked away. And you know how dinner time is with many kids. It's a little chaotic and crazy, and you're like, you know, pouring milk, spilling milk, whatever. We don't even drink milk at dinner. I don't know why I said that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just chaos. So then Nate goes into the kitchen to be helpful because he's super helpful, and he grabs the pan, like, not thinking. I think it was just a knee-jerk reaction, and he burns both hands really bad, straight down the middle of his hands from this hot pan, 425 degrees, okay? Not pretty at all. And he was like, "Wah!" You know, and he was like, "What do I do?" And I was like, "Just go put lavender on him. Put lavender on him right now." And I didn't even like help him get it. I was too busy. Like, I think we had a kid in a high chair and stuff like that. So he went and he put lavender on it, and we get settled. The kids are eating. The chaos subsides a little. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, how are your hands? Like, are you okay?" And he was like, "It doesn't hurt at all. It's totally fine." And then he was like, what other oils do you have in here? And he started digging through my little oil case at the time, you know, and he was super into it. So my joke is, I'm like, listen, if your husbands aren't into this, the thing that you have to do is you have to burn them, and then you have to heal them, and then they're going to be all into it. And everybody laughs, and then they just sign up because they're like, oh yeah, husbands are crazy, you know? And they're not. They're just usually it's not the husband's role to kind of champion the family and health and wellness. That's just usually not. Sometimes it is. And if that's you in your case and your husband is, that's amazing. I think that's phenomenal and I respect it so much. I would just say more often than not, we see that it's the woman that drives the, you know, usually the grocery shopping, the cooking, the things like that. Okay. Not always. Again, don't be mad that I said that. I'm not saying that as a generalization. I'm just saying that that's how it goes. So even if they're saying I have to go home and talk to my husband or my significant other, I'll often just say to them, oh, do they usually make all the decisions for your family's health? And just let them answer. I'm just curious. I'm just like, oh, is that how that works? And they'll often say like, no, like they feel offended that I said that, like, no, I do. And I'm like, oh, okay. I just thought if, you know, you have to go home and talk to him, maybe he's the one that makes more of those decisions, you know? Same, I just let them like decide then, like, well, actually, I don't need to talk to him, and they sign up. But if people really want to go home and discuss their finances, like I let them do that, you know, that's not my role. But I'll say to them, I get it. You know, that's great. Go home because he's going to want to see what you've learned. And if he has any questions, let me know, or I can send you my 10-minute video so he can watch and just get the highlight reel of the oils. What day do you think you'll like be able to talk to him, you know, and because I'll call you on Saturday and we'll get things sorted. I usually make sure that it's not just like, I have to go talk to my husband. And I'm like, okay, bye. You know, I try to always set the next appointment. The next time we're going to talk, they're going to hear back from me. It's not an open-ended thing. Like, I'm going to talk to my husband for the next 9 years, and then I'll get back to you. It's like, okay, I'm going to talk to my husband, and in 3 days, we're going to have a chat. You know, you should be able to talk to him about essential oils in the next 3 days. So make sure that you're in the appointment with that type of. Another thing that they'll say is, I don't know which kit. I got to talk to my husband about which kit. I'm like, well, then fill out your form. I have them fill out their form and leave it with me. And I said, I won't put it in the system until I talk to you and you decide on your kits. But fill out everything else because it's just, you have your credit card out right now. It's fresh. Get it all in. And then I'll go ahead and call you and we'll pick your kit. And they are like 95% more likely to like pick something at that point because I have their form. And sometimes once in a while, they'll be like, he doesn't want me to get anything, and I'll shred their form and it's totally fine. Okay. I'm going to give them like security, like, don't worry about it. I don't have your information anymore, you know, that kind of thing. But if I can get them to fill out the form and just leave it with me, I will. Cause that's like almost 100% secure enrollment right there. They just have to decide what they want. Okay. What else? If I'm too lazy, that was one you guys said, too lazy, I won't use these. I'm just too lazy. One of the things that I'll do with them is, again, like a daily challenge or a weekly challenge. Okay. So you can say to them, you know what? This is a new habit. A new habit takes some time to learn. So we're gonna start with a weekly challenge. And our first challenge will be that we're all gonna drink a drop of lemon in every glass of water that we have. Do you think that you can handle that? And that's like nothing, you know? So like, of course I can handle that. Oh, great, let's just start there. Do you see how easy this is gonna be? I mean, your children can do this, you know? I'm not really super impressed with people that are lazy. Like the word lazy actually makes me angry. I'm like, why? How could you be lazy? This is our health, you know? This is our future that we're talking about. So that kind of just drives me crazy. And I think one of you said it happened in a class where someone was like, I'll never use these. And everyone else like, yeah, me either, you know? And I'll be snarky about that too. Usually that's where I tend to like go if I am put on the spot, but I'll say, listen, how many of you have ever had your kids wake up in the middle of the night puking? Like, somebody has, everybody has, you know? I'm like, that's always when they want to puke. I always say that when I'm talking about digestion too. I'm like, this is the oil that if you don't have this in your cupboard, you're going to feel like, why did I walk away from this? Because you're going to need it when they can't keep anything down. You're going to need it to soothe their tummy, and you're going to need it so somebody can go back to bed. So you're going to rub it on their tummy topically. It's going to help. It's going to soothe everything. It's going to help minimize the extent of that bug, and you can move on, you know? And so to me, you have to, again, go back within your class and set up the value of essential oils. It's easy to use these essential oils. They need them in their homes, even if they use them medicinally, like in a medicine cabinet type fashion at first and not as an everyday thing. That's okay, but we still need them in their medicine cabinets, okay? And so you have to just provide that kind of information, okay? And then I will post an internal use post and a pets post for you guys that you can use within your user groups. One thing in your user groups I suggest is you have to approve every single post so that they can't surprise you with these posts, or they can't dominate your threads, okay? Just make sure you have like a blanket post, and you just, if they have a question about it, you delete their question and you tag them in the post, and then that way it stays really clean and they're getting all the information that they need, and usually they're just like, thank you, and you're like, welcome, and everyone's moving on and learning about better things. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I know that took a long time. Have an awesome Tuesday. Next week we're going to jump into customer appreciation, and some of you have emailed in just some Tipster Tuesday things that you'd love to hear about. We're getting those and we're taking account, we're making a list, and so throughout the next several months, I promise we'll get to them. Okay. All right, everybody, have an awesome week. Go handle those objections.